In the beginning, the world was a place of beauty, wonder, and divine order. God created humanity in his own image, giving them a paradise to live in and a purpose to fulfill. But as generations passed, the hearts of men grew distant from their Creator. Sin, corruption, and violence began to fill the earth, clouding it in darkness and despair. The book of Genesis paints a vivid picture of this descent into chaos. Humanity had strayed far from God's intentions, choosing selfish desires over selfless love, embracing violence over peace, and indulging in corruption without restraint. Instead of living in harmony, people began to act on impulses that led to exploitation, betrayal, and injustice. The paradise that God had created became a place marked by suffering, greed, and relentless chaos. This wasn't just any kind of disobedience. It was a complete rejection of God's ways and his divine order. The Bible describes a world where every inclination of the thoughts of the human heart was only evil all the time. Imagine a society where there was no sense of morality, where people acted solely on their impulses with no consideration for others. Violence, deceit, and cruelty became the norm as humanity spiraled further into darkness. The level of corruption was unprecedented, and this grieved God deeply. His creation, meant to reflect his love and beauty, had instead become a reflection of everything he despised. Yet even in this darkness, there was one man who stood out, Noah. Unlike the rest of humanity, Noah found favor in the eyes of the Lord. He was described as a righteous man, blameless among the people of his time, and he walked faithfully with God. Noah wasn't perfect, but he was different. Despite the influence of a world engulfed in sin, Noah maintained his faith. He honored God in his actions and upheld values that others had long abandoned. He lived with integrity, compassion, and obedience to God, setting himself apart in a time when few others did. So why did God choose Noah? What made him worthy of being saved while the rest of humanity faced destruction? The answer lies in Noah's relationship with God. Unlike those around him, Noah listened, obeyed, and trusted God completely. He was willing to follow God's instructions, even when they seemed incomprehensible or when he didn't fully understand them. Noah's faith was unwavering, and his heart was open to God's guidance. This obedience and loyalty made him a beacon of hope in a world that had lost its way. It was at this point that God made a decision that would change the course of history. Witnessing the unrelenting wickedness, the suffering, and the complete moral decay on earth, God chose to cleanse it. This decision wasn't just an act of anger or punishment. It was an act of mercy and restoration. God wanted to start anew, to give humanity a fresh beginning, where righteousness and purity could flourish once more. God spoke to Noah and gave him a monumental task: build an ark. This ark, a massive structure beyond anything Noah had ever seen or imagined, would be a vessel of salvation. It would shelter him, his family, and pairs of every living creature during the flood that was coming. A flood that would sweep across the earth, wiping away the corruption and allowing for a rebirth of creation. As Noah began to build the ark, many must have thought he was crazy. A giant boat, far from any sea or river, constructed for a flood no one believed would come. It was an idea beyond comprehension. His neighbors and acquaintances likely mocked him, laughed at him, and questioned his sanity. But Noah, driven by his faith and unwavering in his obedience, persisted. Day after day, he worked, following God's instructions to the letter, trusting in a plan that he might not fully understand, but knew was for a higher purpose. But why a flood? Why choose such a drastic, all-encompassing act? The flood wasn't just a physical event, it was symbolic. Water has always represented cleansing, renewal, and rebirth. Just as water can wash away dirt and impurities, the flood would wash away the stain of sin that had tainted the earth. By covering the world with water, God was enacting a form of spiritual purification, a reset that would allow creation to start afresh. The flood was a divine judgment, yes, but it was also an invitation to return to a state of purity and alignment with God's will. As the rains began, they were no ordinary showers. Torrents of water poured down from the heavens, and the earth itself released its hidden waters, as springs and fountains burst forth, adding to the deluge. For 40 days and 40 nights, the rain did not cease. The people who once mocked Noah watched in terror as the waters rose higher and higher, realizing too late that the flood was real and that their actions had led to this destruction. Imagine the panic, the desperation, as people scrambled to find safety, clambering onto rooftops and high places, only to see the relentless waters swallowing everything in their path. Every home, every field, every trace of human civilization was submerged beneath the waves. The noise of the rushing water, the cries of those left behind, the unyielding force of nature. It must have been a scene of utter devastation. Inside the ark, however, there was calm. While the storm raged outside, Noah and his family were safe, sheltered within the vessel God had instructed him to build. They were surrounded by animals of every kind, 2 by 2, preserved to continue life after the flood. For them, the ark was not only a physical refuge, but a symbol of God's mercy, a promise that even in judgment, God provides a way for those who trust him. During this time, Noah and his family must have reflected deeply on what was happening around them. They were witnesses to both the wrath of God and his grace, understanding the weight of humanity's actions and the mercy granted to them. The ark became a place of reflection, repentance, and renewal. A floating sanctuary where they could ponder the magnitude of the world's transformation and their role in the future that awaited them. As days turned into weeks, the floodwaters eventually covered even the tallest mountains, and all life outside the ark perished. The earth was cleansed, stripped back to a blank canvas, ready to be reborn. Yet despite the destruction, there was hope. God had not abandoned his creation. He had preserved a remnant through Noah, a seed of life that would one day flourish again. Finally, after the rain had ceased and the floodwaters began to recede, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. Noah and his family waited patiently as the waters continued to lower, allowing the land to dry and new life to begin. They sent out birds to gauge the progress, watching as each one returned, until finally a dove brought back an olive leaf, a sign that the earth was ready to welcome them once again. This was a profound moment. The olive leaf symbolized peace, renewal, and a new covenant between God and humanity. After months of isolation, uncertainty, and reflection, Noah and his family were given a new chance, a new beginning. They had survived God's judgment, and now they stood on the threshold of a new world, one cleansed of its past and full of potential for a brighter future. When Noah and his family finally stepped out of the ark, they were not merely returning to life as it had been. They were entering a world transformed, a world that bore the scars of judgment, but also the promise of God's faithfulness. Their first act upon leaving the ark was to build an altar and offer sacrifices to God, an expression of gratitude, reverence, and a renewed commitment to live according to his will. And in response, God made a covenant with Noah and all of humanity, a promise that he would never again destroy the earth with a flood. As a sign of this covenant, God placed a rainbow in the sky, a beautiful arc of colors that symbolized his enduring mercy and love. The rainbow was a reminder that while humanity may fall short, God's patience and compassion remain steadfast. It was as though God was saying, I understand your flaws, but I'm giving you another chance, a promise that I will not abandon you even when you falter. This rainbow was more than just a natural phenomenon. It was a declaration of hope, a sign that even in the face of humanity's failures, God's love endures. It was a message that, despite our imperfections, God desires relationship and redemption for us. The rainbow stands as a testament to the fact that no matter how dark the storm, there is always light on the other side. It serves as a symbol that God's faithfulness is unchanging, that his commitment to humanity's well-being and spiritual growth is eternal. The covenant between God and humanity, marked by the rainbow, was also a reminder of accountability. Although God promised never to flood the earth again, this didn't mean that humanity was free to live without regard to moral and spiritual integrity. The flood served as a stark warning of the consequences of unchecked sin and the importance of adhering to a life of righteousness. It was a reminder that while God is merciful, he is also just. He desires a world where goodness prevails, where people live with respect, kindness, and humility. Through the story of Noah and the flood, we learn profound lessons about the nature of God's judgment and mercy. This ancient tale isn't just about a cataclysmic event, it's about the delicate balance between justice and compassion. It teaches us that, although God is willing to forgive, there is a point where continued defiance can lead to consequences. But even then, his ultimate goal is not to destroy, but to restore. In many ways, the flood was both an end and a beginning. It marked the end of an era defined by sin and rebellion, but it also opened the door to a new chapter, a chapter that allowed humanity to start over, armed with the knowledge of God's expectations and the assurance of his love. Noah and his family were not just survivors. They were pioneers of a renewed world, tasked with the responsibility of rebuilding society in alignment with God's values. As Noah's descendants spread across the earth, they carried with them the memory of the flood and the lessons it imparted. Generations upon generations would hear the story of Noah and the ark, a story that would become a foundational narrative of faith, obedience, and divine relationship. The legacy of the flood would serve as a guide for humanity, a constant reminder of the importance of living a life that honors God. But as history unfolded, humanity would once again struggle with sin and rebellion. Despite the memory of the flood, people would find themselves drawn to the same temptations that had led their ancestors astray. Yet the rainbow remained, a silent witness to God's promise, a reminder that, even in moments of weakness, God's mercy was within reach for those who sought it. The story of the flood also offers us insights into our own spiritual journeys. Like Noah, we are often called to take a stand, to live in a way that sets us apart in a world that may not understand our faith. We may face challenges, doubts, and moments of isolation, but Noah's story reminds us that when we walk with God, we are never truly alone. Just as the ark protected Noah, our faith can serve as a refuge in times of trial, shielding us from the storms of life. In today's world, the story of Noah and the flood continues to resonate, reminding us of the importance of staying true to our values, even when society around us may not. It challenges us to examine our lives, to reflect on the ways we may have drifted from God's path, and to seek a renewed commitment to living in alignment with His will. The flood may have been a one-time event, but its lessons are timeless, urging each generation to strive for righteousness and to build a world rooted in compassion and integrity. As we reflect on this story, we are called to consider our own role in the world's moral fabric. Are we contributing to a society that honors God, or are we allowing ourselves to be swayed by the same influences that led to the flood? The tale of Noah's Ark serves as a powerful reminder that our choices matter, that the way we live has an impact not only on our own lives, but on the world around us. It is a call to action, a challenge to be mindful of the legacy we are creating for future generations. In the end, the story of Noah and the flood is one of hope. It teaches us that, while humanity is flawed, redemption is always within reach. God's covenant with Noah reassures us that, despite our mistakes, we are loved and valued. The rainbow in the sky is a sign that we are not forgotten, that God's grace is available to all who seek it. Through faith, humility, and a commitment to righteousness, we can find our way back to Him. No matter how far we may have strayed, the floodwaters have long receded, but the message endures. In every storm, in every struggle, there is the promise of a new beginning, a chance to rise above the darkness and embrace the light of God's love. Like Noah, we are invited to walk with God, to trust in His guidance, and to find strength in His unwavering presence. We can look at the trials of today, the challenges and the temptations, and remember that we are not alone in our journey. The lessons of Noah's time are reminders that God is with us, guiding us toward a life filled with faith and purpose. And just as He showed mercy to Noah and gave humanity a second chance, He extends that same mercy to us today. The covenant established with Noah lives on in every act of kindness, every prayer, and every effort to seek goodness. It is a reminder that redemption is never out of reach, that God's love endures, and that every individual has the opportunity to change, to start anew, and to live in a way that honors the Creator. In our world, filled with distractions and pressures, it is easy to forget the core values that ground us. We are often swept away by the tides of ambition, pride, and material desires. Yet the rainbow in the sky invites us back, urging us to reflect on what truly matters and to live a life that is meaningful in the eyes of God. Let us be like Noah, a beacon of hope in turbulent times, an example of faith and obedience. By following his example, we honor the covenant God made with humanity. and contribute to building a world where love, compassion, and humility prevail. In our own lives, let us strive to uphold the principles that God values: honesty, compassion, and devotion. As we face our personal floods, be they challenges, losses, or moral dilemmas, let us remember Noah's unwavering trust in God and find strength in the belief that, no matter how overwhelming the storm, there is always refuge in faith. And as we move forward, let the story of the flood remind us that every challenge we face is an opportunity for growth, every mistake a chance for forgiveness, and every day a gift to start anew in alignment with God's will. Just as Noah rebuilt his life upon leaving the ark, we too can rebuild, renew, and embrace a life of purpose and faith. Let the message of Noah's story live on in each of us, guiding us, inspiring us, and drawing us closer to God. The ark may no longer be needed, but the lessons it carries will forever shape the journey of humanity. If you found this message meaningful, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and turn on notifications so you won't miss out on future videos that deepen your faith and understanding of God's Word.